Phil Spencer says the industry should protect devs who take risks from toxic internet discourse. Oh, you mean like how Soyny protected the Concord devs with their toxic positivity until they released it and nobody bought it? You know, I agree with you here, Phil. I think this is a great idea. I think the industry should circle the hug box around themselves and keep making dog shit nobody wants. It's no secret that I'm an accelerationist. I'm all for this. Let the legacy industry continue destroying itself and then sticking their head in the sand and being in denial over it, while the parallel industry actually gives me what I want. I'm no longer your customer. That's what you wanted all these years, right? Remember those articles that kicked off Gamergate? Well, gamers don't have to be your audience. There's more people in the world you could be appealing to than this tiny niche of toxic gamers. Okay, go right ahead. But I don't want to see you try to come crawling back after it doesn't work out for you. After you stab your existing audience in the back to go appeal to a non-existent modern audience, there's not going to be anything left for you if you try to come crawling back after that, because once you stab us in the back, we're going to leave and find an alternative. And once we have the alternative, we don't need you anymore. We're seeing this with some corpos already. Hey guys, look, remember the stuff you asked us for 15 years ago? Well, look, we're giving you like 5% of that now. You're going to come back, right? Nah, no need for that shit. I'm already getting way more from the alternatives. Phil Spencer admits that Xbox hasn't always had success when it comes to protecting its developers. Oh, is this like a preemptive circling the wagons around Obsidian? Because the Outer Worlds 2 is, I mean, I think it's already out, right? If you paid like the extra $30 or whatever to have a couple days early access. It's apparently not reviewing very well. All the shills that got early access to it gave it glowing reviews because that's what shills that get early access do. But I think the most damning, like I can't remember which one it was, but like half the YouTubers I watch in the gaming space were all making fun of this one guy. One guy literally said, if you liked Avowed, you'll love Outer Worlds 2. That should tell you everything you need to know about that game. Plus, the gaming media is reviewing it lower than they did Drag Queen Age the Fail Hard. So in case you missed something from the previous message, maybe you could understand this one. So I'm starting to think that this article might be them trying to preemptively protect Obsidian. And I agree with this. Like, dude, I wish PlayStation did a better job protecting Firewalk Studios. They should have been able to make Concord 2, Concord 3, Concord 4. They should have been able to continue spending $400 million a game, making more and more of that shit, only to get zero sales. I agree with you. You need to protect the developers harder. Keep dumping money into these fucking money pits. If that's going to speed up your bankruptcy, I am all for it. So it's got Marathon and Fair Games and Destiny 2. Oh, God, I haven't really heard much about Marathon recently. You think they might actually cancel it? He also admits there's a current climate that makes it tough for devs who take risks and that the industry should be protecting the creators who put themselves out there. Well, the problem is, none of those risks are taken from a position of wanting to make a cool, new, different, better game. It's always like, how do we push our ideology in different ways? We like it when developers take risks to give us shit we want, even if it doesn't always work out. If it's obvious their heart was in the right place, they tried to make something that they thought would be a lot more fun, and maybe it was a lot better in theory than it was in practice, We could forgive that, like, especially if they immediately admit they made a mistake and they walk it back and they fix it. But that's not what you guys are doing. No, you're trying to force your ideology down our throats, and when we call you out, you double down and you say we're the problem. All right, whatever. We're just going to be here reading manga instead. As reported by PC Gamer, these comments are made during a talk at the Paley International Council Summit this Thursday. During the talk, he discussed the state of the game industry alongside Double Fine founder Tim Schafer. Oh my God. So who do you guys think is the bigger lolcow? Tim Schafer, Neil Cuckman, or Randy Bitchford? I think any of those three could be very strongly in the running for that top title. Like, wasn't Tim Schafer the one that did the Gamergate sock puppet thing, or was that Bitchford? I think that was Tim Schafer, right? That did the sock puppet, like the literal sock puppet. Yeah, all of these guys are fucking morons, man. Like, they may have made one or two good games decades ago, but that was decades ago. Yeah, you're not gonna keep you're not gonna keep me around by trying to appeal to my nostalgia of 20 years ago. And commended developers continue to work in the current climate. Hey, you know what? You got developers making games players actually want, having a great time. Look at what fellow game developers did to Team Cherry. Look at what fellow game developers did to Larian when they released Baldur's Gate 3. They call us toxic for as the customer, telling the developers what we want and don't want, what we will support and what we won't. They call us toxic for that. But they themselves toxically attack any fellow developers that make them look bad. Oh, the Binding of Isaac devs too? Yeah. So many developers, both indie and AA, have just been ruthlessly attacked by their peers in the industry for daring to take risks and make things way better than their peers can make for way less money. End up making more money in the process. How about we do something about the toxic game developers first? Yeah, the sour grapes over Elden Ring's success. Yeah. Remember all those Ubisoft devs that were reeing about Elden Ring? Yeah, how about you fix the toxicity in your own ranks first, Philip? How about you focus on that? Instead of manufacturing fake toxicity among us, why don't you fix the real toxicity yourselves? The only way we can end a developer's career is by doing what customers always have the right to do and voting with our wallets. You guys are the ones that are trying to like behind the scenes, like strong arm and blackmail other developers. We're not doing that. All we have the power to do is laugh at what you make if it's shit and tell you we're not going to buy that shit. You guys want to know a real good way to get to these people? Tell them that their game isn't worth anywhere near $80 and then post a screenshot of you buying a $100 in-game currency pack to a gacha game. That's going to piss them the fuck off. Guaranteed. Phil Spencer commends brave game devs who are subjected to criticism online. Oh, how brave. I guess all of us are fucking war heroes by these standards. I'm sure every one of us has gotten more online criticism than these clowns. I think it's the most brave thing a team can do, whether you're making a movie or a television show, to go and put something out for the internet to evaluate, judge, and comment on. Sometimes I scratch my head on why anyone wants to go do that, because the internet's not always a nice place for the discourse. Discourse around things that have been created, but nurturing and protecting creative teams that want to go take risks. Yeah, I agree, Philip. I think Xbox needs its own Concord. Why don't you keep protecting them and have them keep making more of that? He continues, reflecting on Xbox's role in that. We don't always succeed in that, but I think it's kind of the root of any media industry, the creative nugget. Oh, it's a nugget of something, all right. True enough, the gaming space is incredibly volatile right now. Volatile. I mean, it's not among the games that actually give their fans what they want. I'm not seeing much volatility in Snowbreak. The most bitching I see around Snowbreak now is people that are bitching about like some of the mini game modes that they have in every event. I mean, I do see a little bit of that, but even then, it's more like, man, I wish they would, instead of making Fall Guys, I wish they just add more titty. And yeah, I guess that's fair, but I can see why they're doing it. If they made their mini games more permanent, like Nikkei does, maybe they'd stick better. I don't know, but regardless, the kind of nuggets that are coming out of Xbox lately are the kind you'd have to wipe after, like Avowed. Pretty much any game that features a female protagonist who's not deemed hot enough is likely to get ripped apart online long before anyone's had the chance to actually play it. And how many of those games, after people have a chance to play it, actually end up being anything better than mid? Can anyone give me one example of any game that intentionally made an ugly female protagonist that actually ended up being good? I know some of them are able to achieve mid status, but I don't think I can't think of a single one that was better than mid. It's almost like we got pattern recognition. Like, oh, these devs are a lot more concerned about pushing an agenda than making a good game. I bet the game's gonna suck. And we're always right. We don't seem to be missing out on anything. Yeah, if you care more about your fucking self-insert than making a good game, you think we can't tell? See, these guys project their own gullibility and stupidity on us. Like, they're too stupid to be able to notice these things, so they assume we won't be able to either. Creative freedom is undervalued, and games are analyzed like products that should appeal to the most vocal bunch of gamers online. It's called the free market. You're free to make whatever you want, but don't fucking bitch when it doesn't get the sales you think you deserve. That's all we want to remind you of. We're just you call us a vocal minority, yet the games that give us what we want are making money hand over fist. The games that don't are failing. Even if we are a minority, we must be the minority in the gacha game whale sense. In that, like, we might be 1% of the player base, but we apparently have 95% of the buying power. So you should be appealing to us in that case, whether or not we're actually the minority. We're the ones that have the money, clearly. Or at the very least, we're the only ones that are willing to spend our money on you. The other side, even if they have money, they have none of it to give you, apparently. If a game does get the internet seal of approval like Stellar Blade, then it's used as a weapon against games that are deemed unworthy, despite the fact, as we saw with Stellar Blade, there's no ill will from those devs against any others in the industry. Yeah, if anything, it's the exact opposite. Like, that is Shift Up's biggest red flag, is they're trying to suck up to the rest of the industry when they should be stamping them out. It's interesting that Spencer sees a role for Xbox to play here. They're protecting its teams from online harassment. Indeed, plenty of developers are likely to be familiar with this, with its most recent example coming to mind being Obsidian, who faced pushback over the character designs in Avowed. Well, the character designs initially, because that was like the main thing people saw. And then the game actually came out, and sure enough, it was mid at best. Like I keep saying, and then it got shat on for everything else. It's almost as if we could tell it was going to end up that way. But of course, another thing that studios need to thrive is stability. Under Microsoft, it's hard to argue that developers have had this with frequent layoffs through this console generation. You need to perform if you want stability, though. Like it works. It's like with venture capital back in the day. Like the reason that most of these fake news game journalist sites are being shut down now is because that they ran out of time. A lot of these investors, they're willing to put up with you running at a loss for like maybe 5 years or so. But if they've been losing money on you for 5 years under the promise that you will be profitable eventually they run out of patience and say, Either you give us a profit now or we're shutting you down. That's where a lot of these microshaft studios are. They've been bleeding money for so long that the suits just don't have patience for them anymore. Like, yeah, either you show us you could be successful now, or we're shutting you down. We're not willing to keep funding. We're not willing to keep flushing money down the toilet anymore. But a lot of these guys, that they legitimately started to believe that they were like as the old Firewalk devs that work on Concord said, they knew the game was going to be a massive flop, but they didn't really care. They weren't worried because they assumed they were too big to fail. Oh, we're part of Soyny. We're part of PlayStation. Oh, they're definitely going to keep us around for like another 2 years. Keep dumping hundreds of millions into us and give us time to fix it. And then they get so mad when that doesn't happen. Now, here's another idea. Maybe you wouldn't need to rely on investors and shareholders if you actually gave customers what they wanted. But so many of these companies, they pivoted away from giving the customers what they wanted to appealing to investors. And then they drove their customers away. And then when the investors pulled out, they yelled at their customers for abandoning them. Like, nah, bitch, you abandoned us. We would have stuck around if you kept giving us what we wanted. Attempts to course correct don't appear to be going particularly well. So what attempts to course correct? How many games like Stellar Blade does Microshaft have in production right now? That's right, 0. So you're not actually attempting to course correct. Shut the fuck up. And it's being reported that Microshaft has pretty unrealistic expectations for the Xbox division, so it remains to be seen if anything improves in time. You can say those are unrealistic expectations. I'm telling you that is them losing patience. Like that is something that like I saw an article about that earlier, that apparently Microshaft expects like 30% profit margins from their Xbox division. But that's after years of that division losing money. Dude, they gave the Xbox division a blank check. They funded the buyout of Activision for almost $70 billion. They kind of want a return on that investment now. So you can just look at it and say, oh, it's not fair that they expect such an impossible rate of return. And then you look at how much money they flushed down the toilet on this division. Yeah, maybe there's a reason why they expect that much of a return now. What, did you think that they'd keep throwing you hundreds of billions of dollars a year for you to just flush down the toilet and not return anything? Yeah, eventually you have to put up or well, get fired.